Hello and a very warm welcome to this course on academic writing. I'm Professor Dirk Ziegman. I've been teaching academic writing for about 20 years now. I've written several books on it, and I'd like you to join me on this voyage of discovery, which is going to introduce you to the central features of English academic writing. So let's first ask the question, a very simple question apparently, what makes good writing? Well, basically good writing is all about getting your ideas across as effectively and as clearly as possible. It's not so much about writing elegantly, which we might deal with at the end of the course. The main thing is to convey your ideas in the most effective way possible. Now, of course, there's a problem here. Or there are actually two problems. The first is that you might come from a different cultural background. If probably with some of you that would be a German background, and Germans tend to write in a way that's quite different to the traditional English way of writing. There are three basic differences, which I'll just go into very briefly here. The first is reader orientation. English texts tend to be much more reader-friendly than German texts, and in this course we'll explore why that is and how you can achieve reader-friendly texts. A second point is argumentation. English texts are usually quite well argued, quite tightly knit, so that everything is linked, again, in the most effective way possible. And thirdly, there is a linear progression in English texts. So English texts tend to make their points very early on. German texts might be point late, what you call point late sometimes. English texts tend to make their point early on, and they progress in a linear way from A to B, from B to C, etc. All of this, as we'll see later, contrasts with the German way of doing things. Second problem facing the academic writer is disciplinary differences. So in literary criticism, we don't write in the same way as in economics. That's something we also need to address at some point, but we're not going to address it right away. So in the first few videos, in the first few modules, we're going to pretend that all academic writing has a common core, that there is a smallest common denominator between disciplines, and indeed there is, but there are also differences which, as I was saying, I'll come back to later, such as you can see here in these two brief excerpts, differences in sentence length. Sentences in literary criticism tend to be quite long sometimes, especially towards the end, and differences in the way nominals are made. In economics, we tend to find maximal compression. That is, we tend to find very dense noun phrases, whereas in literary criticism, we tend to find very elaborate long sentences. With these problems in mind, I'm going to focus in this course on the smallest common denominator between disciplines, on the key features of English language academic writing that apply to all these disciplines. The course falls into 4 modules. The first module is about word combining. That's the kind of question that everyone asks themselves when they start to write. How do I combine the word that I've just put down with the next word? What's the correct word to team up with the word I've just used? In module 2, we're going to build up the picture systematically from the lowest level to the higher levels, the lowest level being word combining. So in Module 2, we're going to look at sentence building and paragraph writing. So in this case, the question is, how do we combine sentences with each other? You've written one sentence and then you need to connect it with the next sentence. So that's the kind of question we're going to deal with in Module 2. Module 3 looks at style. So it looks at entire texts in a way. What are the key ingredients of academic style? And we've already seen there's such a thing as dense nominalization, dense noun phrases, and that will be one feature of academic style. And we're going to see that there are more features like that apply to any discipline. In Module 4, we're going to revise and edit a few sample texts, trying to get rid of too much clutter, trying to write as clearly and effectively as possible. Following on from this course, there'll also be a more advanced course consisting again of 4 modules. In this course, we're going to focus on the structure of journal articles. So how are journal articles organized into sections like the introduction, the methods section, the conclusion, etc. And what are the rhetorical moves that the writer needs to go through in each of these sections. Module 2 is about other academic genres, such as research grants, reviews, academic correspondence, and so on. In Module 3, we're then going to look at those disciplinary differences I talked about earlier. So once we've established what the common core is, we can look at more advanced features of particular disciplines, such as shorter sentences in economics, longer sentences in literary criticism, for instance. And we're going to conclude the course by looking at how to write popularizing, popular scientific texts, if you like, so writing for broader audiences.